the Trunks Club.
We made it!
Or sorry, Croaks Club.
And Beautiful Mule rounding things out. Alright, alright. Welcome in, guys. Hey, Garbage. Welcome in, everybody.
Am I sitting between the seats?
Well, I guess we got about 40 attendees right now, so I think we're gonna go ahead and get started. Just a few housekeeping rules. You guys saw when you walked in. Feel free to have a seat here, but then also just respect the event. So I would probably suggest no like beer or bottle throwing or like camera things or anything like that, or anything like that. But in any case, we're gonna go ahead and get started here. So I guess just a quick introduction for those maybe not familiar with some of us. So we'll go around the room and just a little bit. So my name's Crow. I've been playing Rec Room since maybe I guess December of last year, so just a few months now. Been part of some competition rooms, some different things. Excited to share with you some tips and tricks.
Hurry up.
Hello everyone, my name is Trunks. I specialize in animation here in Rec Room.
Hi, this is Meriesa, and I specialize in building and helping others build as well.
Hi guys, I'm Bo. I recognize most of the faces in here. How you guys doing tonight?
Ooh.
Woo!
Alright, I'm Courtney. I like playing with circuits.
Can you move, please?
Oh,
Caught that one. Alright, so just kind of like a quick rundown of kind of how things are going to go tonight. This is going to be kind of a little loosey-goosey, informal. Okay, all good. Perfect. So this is going to be pretty informal, mostly improv stuff. We're going to make some crude gestures like Trunks is doing, and then we're going to talk to you guys a little bit about some creative elements. So we'll go around. Each of us has some sort of like presentation or small thing to share with you guys. This may range. You guys may range in like ability and experience levels from just starting out to maybe very very talented. But I feel like there's something we can share for everyone here. So we'll go ahead and start off with some small presentations and some demos, and then we'll transition over to like more of the Q&A side of things where you guys can ask questions, and then we'll go from there. Uh-oh, there it is. All right, busting out the big guns. We're really trying to boost the press on this event. So Trunks is doing it right. All right, we're gonna go and start off with Meriesa, who's got some things to share about us about Rec Room art, Maker Pen, etc.
Very big-headed.
Love her.
Just turn the net.
Yeah, so I build a lot of stuff here in Rec Room, and I'm sure like a lot of you build a lot of cool things too. But I'm like here to help with any of the types of Maker Pen issues or questions that you may have, and I can give some really good tips about that as well. Does anybody have something that they really want to learn about right now?
Whoa.
Alright, well, anyway.
Oh no! Oh my god! Oh!
Alright, good.
Oh, that poor kid! That poor kid!
Yeah, you know what? You deserve this. You deserve this. I'm giving you a cheer.
Awesome. Great. Alright,
Yeah, go for it. Go ahead and demonstrate.
Okay, so some of the things I can actually show you. How many of you actually know about the Maker Pen, and who's actually in this room built with the Maker Pen?
Me.
Like all of
I
you.
have.
Kind of.
Pretty good majority.
I'm very
Pretty good majority. So you guys really understand the
You're learning.
fundamentals of how to use it, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah,
saying
like
some
how
nods
the
of
basic
agreement.
tools
General nod.
Yes.
and how to edit shapes and like linking groups together and so forth. Alright. If you guys actually really do need some more help with that, like I have a YouTube channel and I just posted a video of the actual Maker Pen and how to use it. So you guys can go
Wow,
ahead.
what's the YouTube channel?
Meriesa.
Oh, okay, let me Google that.
Alright. So like some of the things like I noticed like a lot of people misunderstand of like when they're building an actual structure, and I'll just get right to it here.
Dumb dogs. Houdini, be quiet.
Alright.
Shut up,
There's a lot of women.
She can just move houses.
Oh,
Very strong.
Alright, so I actually built this house on scale.
I'm tempted to grab that.
Okay. built
Shit, that
Sorry, guys. Alright, so I actually built this house on a scale of pretty small scale, and I actually blew it up, and I had just some smaller details. But as you can see, that
you know, like you can just build some really interesting things. You can add some frames and such, and really make some really detailed.
detailed work. And a really good way, like I know this a lot of people don't understand, if you actually want to build to the size of your character, to your avatar, you can go ahead to your
Watch, and then go to your home menu, and then grab.
your avatar, thanks, grab your avatar and actually see how big that structure will be. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh,
With,
How long did that took to make?
that's genius.
How long did it take?
Maybe...
Uh-oh. Hey, Tweak, would you mind bringing that back here for us, buddy?
That's alright. Maybe like about that.
Wow, very
yeah.
rude.
Oh, dude, Crow, I can't believe you would do
anyways.
such a thing.
How did you
Crow.
make the wreath?
I actually made it at a full scale, and then I actually selected the items within that within the group. This is all one group, by the way. If I actually go ahead and
Press the edit button. You can edit.
everything within that within this group. So
Yeah, that's how I
basically,
find it's good.
Yeah, so basically I edited. I created shape like a reef, and then I selected those pieces, and then scale it down, and then dragged it to the door.
Right.
I have a
question.
Yeah, more sense.
Oh, I just noticed the lights in the
So, do you guys have like any like questions or comments, or like what are things that you guys would like to build, and like what is so complicated about it? Go ahead.
I think we got a question from Hyper He X Joe.
Yeah, Hyper.
Well, is there any way? I don't know if there is right now, but is there a way I can build something like perfectly straight and perfectly flat?
Right.
So,
it's actually.
I guess Meriesa, just to kind of forward it. So I think the question was how to build things straight, like orthogonal. Like I'm guessing you're saying like perfect lines and things like that.
Right. So that is actually something that is new to the Maker Pen. So it's called the grid structure. So if you go to
Grid structure, and if you go to the snap tool.
Oh shit, I don't have a maker pen.
you can build things really straight.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
And it's actually quite simple. So like this is how basically how I built the house.
Wow.
Yeah.
Grab one of my hands
Took me
instead.
15 minutes just to make it that neatly.
Right.
Well, you know, like this is the snap tool. So
my
now
legs
it's going
are
to take you a lot less to make that, like lots of time. When I made the pirate ship, it was like all over the place. I did not have that luxury. So now it's like whatever. So it's pretty good.
It's like one of the top
amazing?
creators.
I know I asked.
No, she. Yes, go girl. Go.
Yes, Heather, it's okay. Use your words.
So of you making your stuff, if you think of a project, what is your, I guess, like series of that you do?
Okay, so when I actually think about projects, I think about like what is the ultimate experience and what do people want to experience, you know? So like it's important to me that you experience something that you want to enjoy over and over again. So when I think about a project, like for example, Rome Colosseum, that is an experience that people would love to be in all the time. They can't always visit the Rome Colosseum, and when they do, it's like in ruins, right? So like what is that, how does somebody go into a Rome Colosseum? What is that experience? Like everybody wants to do that at some point, right? It's in the movies, it's everything. It's something that people want to experience. So that's basically where I start, and then I actually start sketching and coming up with compositions. So yeah.
Meriesa, that seems like a pretty good question to kind of pass around here. Would you be okay with that?
Yeah, go for it.
Sure. So I guess Moody, to your point, I think your question was really about like the process of like generating the room, but also like kind of the planning process to it. I found the best thing for me is just go ahead and kind of type out a basic description of things. Like what's kind of Meriesa said, what's the overall experience I'm looking to have? Is it going to be like, what kind of room is it? Is it going to be a weapons-based room, a social room? What are you looking to do with that? And then I find that writing good descriptions of it, like different elements that I'm looking to make, really just writing things out and putting pen to paper tends to be a very, very good style for me. And like Meriesa, start small and then scale upward is always a pretty good starting point for any real room. Trunks, do you have anything to add?
I like to take the craftsman's approach and also trial and error. I start with a very basic goal of something I would like to accomplish. Once I have that done, and also along the way, I also discover many other different techniques that become useful later on. And once you finally get the product that you're trying, and the goal you're trying to achieve, then you realize, well, I might have been doing it the wrong way, so let me try it. So through this trial and error, you'll finally get something that's really desirable, and maybe something you didn't even think was possible. I also think it's important to challenge yourself and push the boundaries on what you think you can do. If you already know what you can do, go ahead and think like 10 steps beyond that. Because if you aim high, you might shoot further than you could if you were aiming at what you were trying to hit. You never know.
Damn, that was deep. Pepto.
When I start out building something, I always think about what I want to see in VR. Like whether it be an old video game, something like that, or a campsite like at nighttime and have a moonlit sky or something like that. I start out with something that's personal to me and that I'm excited about and like passionate about, and I start building it. And I find that passion and that excitement gets me building through the whole thing nonstop, and that's how I find an end to my projects and everything like that. So I would encourage any of you guys to not just look at what other people might be expecting and some of the other stuff you've seen, but look for something that's a little bit more personal to you and something you can get excited about, and you'll get the momentum for that build. And you don't know what you're capable of. You could build something completely awesome, and then people will find out some stuff about you, maybe personal things about you and stuff that you kind of wanted to put out there and things to learn from. That's my advice.
And go along with that, that's somewhat how I do things too. I think about what would I like to play that isn't already out there, and I build the game the way that I want it to, that I want to play it. So in terms of planning for tips, one thing that I found pretty helpful is just writing out the basic idea of what you want the code to do, and that can help you plan out how to build your chips. So.
Yeah, he's already got
I'm double micing it right now. What's up? All right. So, Meriesa, did you have anything else to add from the demonstration here? I think you had one more element to show off, right?
I do, but I think like pretty much everybody in this room understands the basic shapes of the maker pen. So like these are the basic shapes of the maker pen, and like what you can actually do with them, and like how do you combine these shapes to make really interesting experiences, or like anything that you can actually possibly make with actual shapes. So yeah, there you go.
All right, thank you, Meriesa.
Question.
Yes.
All right, somebody said a question.
Sorry.
Yes, me. Over here.
Nelly?
Me.
What you got,
Yes.
Nelly?
Okay. So I came in here a few days ago to look at the room.
Yep.
And I saw like a flamingo and its arms could...
Ooh, that's a good question.
How do you make the arms move?
You make a motor.
That is like, we could not plan for a better segue into like our next presenter here. So I guess without any further ado, Nelly, to answer your question, and the question was actually related to a previous item we had in here that had motion. You don't see a whole lot of motion in Rec Room as far as like custom rooms go. So this is kind of an exciting time. We're gonna give it a shot. We'll see how it goes. So Trunks is, I would say, like on the forefront of like physics and movement. So he's gonna go ahead and give us a little bit of a demonstration on something that he's put together.
Okay.
Alright, so that's right. Well, as Crow said, like I've been experimenting with a lot of motion and what tools are available for us here in Rec Room. And what you're describing earlier is a different example of animation I had set up. It was a big kind of flamingo with the head coming down and the wings would flap as well. Well, I ditched that for something a little more in the theme of this game. I'll go ahead and show you this. I might even be able to get it started up. Give me one moment.
Ooh, I'm excited already.
Just not sure about with all these people in here, but
Let's just give it a shot. What's the worst that can happen?
It
Crash
was
everybody
working
out?
a minute ago. I saw it move.
that's right.
Oh yeah, you'll
Everybody cross your 2 Rec Room fingers. We only got 2.
It's not gonna crash.
What finger?
Oh, hell.
Oh, now it's going backwards. See, this is the problem with
Having 40 people in here. Yeah.
No. I had it going the wrong
But
direction.
how can you
Oh,
do
okay.
that?
We'll give it a shot.
How is that possible?
Wait a minute.
We'll get a bit of a description. Let's let Trunks give it a second to set it up. real quick.
Yeah, sorry. Okay.
Ooh.
So,
That's neat.
Oh no.
Oh no.
well,
Just to the side.
yeah, just
A little experimental, and having 40 people in a room is already kind of experimental for us. So
Yeah,
involving
exactly.
physics at large makes it a little more tricky.
Holy crap!
that's right.
Oh, Lake Central.
Take my word for it. It was working perfectly earlier.
Yeah. So we're not gonna don't be too concerned about it.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
This is
I'll just go ahead and explain the basic ideas here. Don't worry about that. It's broken for now.
Thank you.
I'll stand up from. So this is the basic idea. So if you got one object group, let's say we have.
This is amazing. We love her.
I'll take that.
Got it. 3, 2.
Oh!
Right here. 3, 2, 1.
Chop.
Alright, so the basic idea here is that when you build objects in a grouping together, they have associated motion, and they also have a center point. So we have here, as you can see, when one moves, as does the other. Now, it's with this type of associated motion we can drive puppetry type animation.
I got it right here for you.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
You have to get it.
Alright, so the basic idea here
Buddy.
is that we connect that to something.
warned you, buddy. I warned you.
Don't you put in physics?
Hi, sweetheart.
Physical and
Do you want to come sit by me? Do you want to come sit by me?
whatever.
Found out where all my friends
Oh,
are.
you heard his family.
I feel so I feel like
Oh god, that scared me.
You guys
What
are.
Trunks is doing right now is he's just gonna
Go ahead and make a basic stanchion to hold in place. The physics element here.
Correct. Yes, what I'm making right now is I'm making something
Something that I can make it something that can easily move in a circle, a predictable circular path. And this is essential if you want something that's consistent and reliable. So I use a snap tube with the 10 centimeter setting, and that way I can get nice even segments. I use 10
Oh my
centimeter
god, there's
cylinder
lots
as
of
well.
people here.
I
So
know,
once-
you guys are like all the friends. Sorry.
Okay.
Oh
Sorry.
god, there's this stream.
I didn't know they were streaming.
Oh
Yeah,
no.
RPG streams like all the
Does that mean we got that kid's mom yelling at him on
We're
stream?
prime time, folks.
Okay, guys. So this is your basic engine here, like minus the part that holds it in place. You've got an axle, you got a block that's gonna hold in place, and something to attach your inertia device to. Once you have these in place, you can build a simple structure here, little box, nothing special. Done. Gotta freeze that in place.
Oh my god.
Now,
I'm getting...
if you ever want to place this, always keep it environmental until you have it in place. And this also applies for scaling too. You never want to scale an object when it's physical. An object physical has a chance to become discombobulated when you scale it when it comes in contact with other objects. Weird. So if you ever get a scale, something complex, make sure you switch to environmental first. Once you think you have it in place, you can switch it to physical, and it falls right into place. And here we have a piece that it's not quite as nice as we'd like it to turn, so we scale and scale and scale until we get a nice rotation that we like. Not quite there yet.
No.
I feel like I don't belong here.
That's good.
There we go. That's pretty good. So once we have that in place,
So smart.
that's our engine. We're gonna take our puppet here, and I'm gonna place it thus so. And this is gonna demonstrate a principle that we have one axis of rotation here. Now anything along this axis won't increase in magnitude. So if I had another piece up here, it would still spin in the same way. Anything off of the axis of rotation will increase in magnitude that way or that way. Just like the cylinder pushes out. But anything placed along this axis will not.
Can you
Yeah,
use
what am I
my
doing here?
words?
I'm
Okay, so
Jesus.
you're right. Yes. I forgot that.
Can you explain
Very
that again?
important.
I don't know what you meant by
These,
that.
yes, these puppets also have to be
Yes.
physical
I'm in
objects.
school.
Working.
I do.
There we go.
I'll get your snap.
Oh no. So now that we have
Stop
everything
pretending like you're
set,
smart, okay? Thanks.
I'm not. Oh
my god,
I
everyone.
my
I
goodness.
literally actually need to stop.
What a negative.
Infinity Gamer.
I
You
know,
guys wouldn't mind
okay.
having a seat for just a second?
There we
Trump's still
go.
setting things up.
Now there you guys go. That's what I wanted to demonstrate. Now, Crow, if you could be so
Yes.
kind as to try to
Okay,
place
so
your
it's
hand and stop
Yes.
that rotation of the bigger circle.
I can't hear
Demon.
him.
One thing you'll notice while I'll show you
There's the
this,
hologram
there's no more
dance guy.
colliders here. It no longer responds to
Fucking
any
celebrity is
colliders,
here,
so
dude.
I can pass through it. And if any of you have been to Road Trip, you know why this is the reason any of it works. All that complex geometry spinning around is being completely ignored. All because this is one physical object attached to another.
Road trip
Oh,
also
shit,
makes
I
your
just
game
did one of
crash
those.
when you grab the
So,
wall.
So-
what-
Oh, shit.
so what's going on up here
Road trip
essentially is
amazing.
that
Just for the record.
I can't.
Yeah.
I got it set up for
Created the alcohol.
He's talking.
get back in place for you guys.
No, he's not talking.
Okay.
He's just getting things set up right now. We have with the demonstration, so I guess one thing to mention while he's getting this set up is these physics things are pretty experimental. So things are moving around, colliding with other things. It may or may not crash your game overall. I mean, it should be pretty stable in general, but when you start introducing, let's say, 39 attendees to the to the room, it starts getting a little bit unpredictable. So the more people that it seems to be, more people enter the room and exit. Those transition points seem to be the worst for any sort of physics object. And
Let's see it.
yeah, so that you're just still getting things set up.
All right. So
He has your balls.
my balls, man.
AG.
Can I grab that from you real quick?
Come on, Nelly.
Okay, so we'll see.
Hey.
Okay, now we have some very rough movement,
Difficult.
as you can see.
It's the holocar dance.
when the
Looks like he's
microphone-
talking.
Okay.
He is talking.
Well, this isn't quite working as well as I had hoped, but
If you guys would like a much better example of how this all works, there's a room called animation back there that has 7 or 8 different ideas in it, and it's instanced and just set to one person. So instead of me trying to make this all work with circuits visible and 30 plus people in here where it's not very reliable, check that out. But I will say, as Crow mentioned before, I wouldn't depend on this type of animation technique to exist forever. As we saw in the last update, part of what made this all happen, the stickiness of physical objects to another, was taken away and then subsequently put back in. Now, I wouldn't want everyone to depend on this method, but I would suggest to have some fun and research ways to do it in case they give us something else to animate with in the future. I think it would really help everyone out, and it would bring much needed life to our 3D Maker Pen rooms. And with that, I'll close off and pass it on
Hey,
to Mr.
I got
Pepto.
question.
We
I
got
got
questions.
question.
We may have a few questions.
Woo.
Let's go
Ask
ahead and try to
away.
let's go ahead and try to field a few questions. But first, let's get Nelly. Let me get to somebody that hasn't asked a question just yet. Let me get to Tyler Pup right here in the middle. Tyler.
Yes, about the future of this game. I keep seeing on the forums that they are in current workings of an engine. Does anyone know any more about that, or is there?
That's all we know.
That's all we know.
So Tyler Pup's question was
Yeah,
related
it's in
to
progress.
engines and motion in the rec room. As far as the Canny goes, which is a pretty nice tool that you guys may or may not have seen, the Canny is a publicly available kind of posting forum that you can post your suggestions and comments and bugs and things so that AG can see everything. But yes, Tyler, to answer your question, effectively we have seen that there is, I think is it in progress, guys? The status
Yes.
for physics and movement? Okay. So great, yeah, so to answer your question, it seems like things are moving along in progress. We'll see what's to come in the future.
Sure.
Let's get down here, Gator CRX.
Keep your butt in your seat.
Alright, that's kind of a follow-up. Is it the button that keeps that thing keeping them moving?
yes, there's a little bit of a glitch with physical objects where they have an influence to the things. They make them move. But the way the buttons, I used to use darts all the time just because it's easy to throw a dart. But I've come to find the buttons are a little more predictable. They have a greater range of speed, and I don't know, they're just a little bit easier to work with.
Right, so I guess to follow up on that, your question was related to like what's the button doing all this, and really it just imparts the motion. Like Trunk said, there used to be darts. Darts used to impart motion. I think they still kind of do, but whenever you push a button into a physical object, it tends to move forward, and so that's what he's accomplishing here by pushing that button in there. Does that answer your question?
So buttons work better than...
All right. Well, let's get Swiftbear right here in the middle.
Better.
When you in a second.
So I don't know exactly, but when Trunks was talking about how it works, does anyone know who first discovered this mechanism, whatever?
Trying to think.
So the question was, who first discovered dart drives, button drives, that whole bit? Do you know, Trunks?
Well, the darts have been around. The dart glitches have been around for quite some time.
That's right.
Since
I'm
the
sure,
introduction of
I
the
wasn't
darts,
the
people
first
have been
person.
using them to float buckets and stuff for a long time.
Yeah.
So, just when we started getting physics objects, that's sort of when that all took off. I don't know who the first person to do it was, but the darts being used as a drive, at least in the rec center, when people are messing around with the darts and making buckets float and stuff, that's been happening for a while.
Notorious is exactly right. That's what I was going to say as well. Basically, no one's going to be the first, can claim to be the first to throw a dart into something in the rec center, but that's the inspiration for all this. I will say Damon was the first person I ever saw use a button to make something move, but he had it attached to an RC car for horizontal and vertical text scrolling. It's a really neat concept.
Some pretty cool applications there. Any other questions for Trunks?
Do it again.
Oof.
All right. But Beautiful Meal, do you have a question?
Yeah.
I have a question for Trunks. So what made you start wanting to build things? Like what inspired you to start to learn what works with what kind of thing?
Well, to be honest, I enjoyed custom rooms when they first came out, but one thing that always bugged me about them is that they were all static. There's hardly ever anything moving. Occasionally someone put a wobble man in there or something, it'd be cool. It'd be a little bit something to play with. Have you ever been to a custom room by yourself? It can be kind of lonely and boring, but you have a little bit of motion, a little bit of life to it, it makes a big difference. And I just think it's cool. And like I was saying earlier, it's like I wanted to challenge myself to see, well, what's actually possible? How far can I actually take this without it crashing everybody or myself? So, that's the fine line you tread. Fine line.
You definitely inspire
right.
a lot of us.
Well, I really hope that more people have a Harrison. You got something to say?
Yeah, I want to go Super Saiyan too.
Anything else? All right.
Power God in the anime.
Oh, Sis may have one more question.
I just have alcohol on my side.
Did you have any questions?
Oh, yeah, sorry, there was a little lag there. I actually have a question for Meriesa.
Will you go out with me?
Back in the rec event era, when that was relevant, you were working on the Roman Colosseum. So you showed the demonstration with the house over there. So did you use the same technique where you started it small, then scaled it up?
Yes, I did. I actually, when I built the Colosseum, I actually built two of them. My first one was super detailed, and it crashed the room.
I saw that. That's the one I did see.
I remember that.
This is what happens when you try to scale a physical object.
Yeah.
They make you crash.
So, like, the thing is that I made it simple. Like, you want to make things like detailed, but like try to keep it simple at the same time. So, like, all players, PS4 players, can actually play your game. And keep in mind that, detail is cool, but detail can still be there at a minimum scale as well. So my Colosseum is actually minimal design compared to my first one.
But Meriesa, that was like a build
Regardless, it's
small and
still
scale it up kind of thing, though, correct?
Yeah. If you go to my my room for Rome Colosseum in the RecNet, you can actually see how I built it. I took pictures.
Progress
of
photos in there.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I'm gonna check that out.
All right. Yeah, be sure to do that. We also, just for everybody's knowledge, we do, whenever everything finishes up, there are some linked doors on the outside. We'll talk about those here in a little bit. I think we're good for Pepto. Trunks, anything else?
Pepto.
All right, Pepto, take it away.
Pepto.
Hey guys, I'm gonna do a pretty quick, dirty demonstration on. Let's just say you're looking to start a. You're looking to start a project that's a little bit too big. You don't really know where to start it from. So
I didn't know I didn't came to this kind of room.
So yeah. Like when I say dirty, I mean ugly. I guess is what I actually meant. So
I prefer the
sometimes your project's a little bit too big. You don't really know where to start from to create it. So I'm going to kind of go over modular builds. You can build these objects you can clone and duplicate around your room to save yourself a lot of time and get your room off to a really quick start. So I'm going to go over two different kind of modules you can build. One of them's like separate groups, and I'll kind of go over grouping and stuff too. And also working within one group of an object and using the selection tool. But so like I created this simple looking object right here. What you can do is use this for your background. It's not big enough to cover like the entire background of your map per se, but it's got enough variation. It's got a lot of different altitude to it and everything, and some trees and stuff on there. Reclone this thing and move it around a little bit, and just kind of play with where you position it. Like you can create like a whole map area, and you can't even tell you're using the same object over and over again, especially if you rotate it around and everything. And this is it's a pretty low detailed object.
It's room great outdoors.
And it can save a lot of space on a room when you use something low detail, and it's in the background. But as you build out, like.
It's really smart if you think about it.
Wait, is this streaming?
It's efficient.
Yes, this is live.
So I just made one simple object that took very little time to create, but as I duplicate it, I start filling in the rest of my map and everything. And that might give me a good start on what I'm trying to build, whether like a PvP map or some kind of adventure map or something like that where I want like an outdoors feel. But all these are separate objects, so if I need to reposition these or anything, like I have to move them all one at a time. So to keep them all as one object, you could use the selection tool, and I'm going to kind of do a small demo of what I did on the alliance map I did. Grab that real quick.
Hey, for anybody just joining the room for us, if you wouldn't mind going ahead having a seat up here, we do have a stream going on, so if you kind of, I know you guys want to get in close, you'll have a chance at the end to go ahead and take a look at these and close. And if you wouldn't mind having a seat, we do have a stream going and it's capturing right over the middle here.
Check.
This is actually probably the first
I'm not
I've ever been to.
I'm streaming too.
Wait.
Oh my.
Airplane. Okay, yeah, so if you're like Red Airlines, you might have seen the large-scale airplane that looks like it might have taken a lot of time to build, but actually all I really did was build the one ring for the airplane. And with building modularly, you can put a lot of detail in the object, little buttons and stuff, and multiple seats and everything. And then you can do just like I did over there, just clone this thing down the road, and then you have a whole row of seats and what looks like a longer airplane. It's also a good way to get the details like windows and stuff in there and everything, because that way you can only build a couple windows, and then it looks like you put a bunch of holes in the walls. But for this, we might not want this to be separate objects, because if we want to move the airplane, we want to be able to move it all at one time. And if they're all separate objects, it would be a pain to try to get all those lined back up. So we can work within this object by using edit. And now we have a selection tool. And you want to select all the pieces within the group. And you'll kind of see a highlight around the objects you select. There'll be a little green box around them. It'll give you an idea of everything you have selected in the group. Selected here perfectly, but I like to scan over it real quick with the pointer just to make sure I got most of the
I like my plane.
Okay.
I like
Now,
French.
using the clone tool within the group, I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this a couple times. And for this object, I'm going to keep snap equipped also. Now, when you clone this, it's going to make a new group. This original selection group is no longer a group anymore, but the cloned object is all one selection group, and that's kind of new, and I like it a lot. It's very
Very helpful.
Really is.
So one thing you guys are seeing as Pepto's arranging things is whenever you do use the move tool and you grab toward the middle of the group of objects that you're trying to select, if you hold on to it and then kind of rotate your hand, you'll notice that it kind of moves in relation to your hand, which can be a good thing, but also sometimes a bad thing. It may trick you up. So if you're having trouble and you just want to move it, you don't want to rotate it, try to grab near the corner of the object.
Can I go in?
That's
I want to go in the plane.
That's useful.
Gator, you're in front of my friend.
Sorry, I was up looking for my cigarettes.
Holy.
Oh no. Are these them?
Stole one of my brothers.
Anybody just joining us, if you wouldn't mind just having a seat, and give us just 1 second. Pepto's just going to go ahead and queue up another column right here.
I'm just about to finish this up. I'm going to show you a cool thing with the selection tool also. I always ask
Oh my god, it's so beautiful.
a deselect all option, some way to deselect all the selections you have, and we don't have that on the maker pin, but I found a quick way to do it. If you clone the object,
Freaking cool. Give it to me.
It's so
Molly.
beautiful.
Oh no.
if you clone that selection you made, and then go ahead and delete that, now you no longer have any objects selected. So if you're not sure what objects you have selected in the map,
smart. Oh.
yeah, it's very helpful when you're not sure what objects you have selected in the map and you try to move a selected group. You end up moving something you don't even see and you go back to it and you're like, how did this all get missing off? So, but now, unlike that group over there, which is all separate objects, now if I go ahead and I build the whole plan,
Unlike that group,
I can move and like reposition that as I want to at that point. It's all one object. So that's a benefit of using the select tool as opposed to just duplicating outside the group. Used to be you could save space if you build everything within one group, but I believe that's been patched and more or less it doesn't matter how many groups you have, it still uses about the same amount of ink in a room. But that's pretty much all I have for demonstrating modular builds. This can be used a lot of different ways. I like doing this kind of build when I'm doing interior caves or something like that, and natural builds. Just kind of build something organic that can be twisted around and used in different ways. But at the same time, you can use it for like neighborhoods, houses, apartment buildings, and stuff like that. You can build small.
Thank you, Pepto, for all the ideas.
Yeah, you're welcome. So you guys have any
use
questions?
some of you right now.
I love you, Pepto.
Could really use some free
Let me
real
look around real
estate.
quick.
Patrick,
So we
thank
got,
you
we
for
got,
the ideas.
it looks like lots of
I can make a
geckos.
lot
I don't think
better
lots of
rooms
geckos
now.
have asked
Goodbye.
questions just yet. Let's go to lots of geckos.
Oh my god.
No? But it's Duck, did you have your hand?
Geckos.
Geckos, tell them the word!
Love you,
Sort of, are you
Pepto.
talking?
Maybe muted.
Once you know that. Once
Sorry,
you
I
know
can talk now.
Pepto.
I was gonna say something we can all relate to. In a post-infinite build space world, how do you deal with conserving space in your maker box?
Yeah.
So
That's a great
the
question.
Go ahead, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was going to repeat the questions. The question was, we're currently in a situation where we have a limited amount of ink. What's the best way to conserve ink and maximize your ink whenever you're building with pen objects?
Okay, yeah, that's a great question. It's a problem we all run into as creators. We used to have the trick to where we could work all within one group like I did with this plane instead of duplicating objects, and you could actually really minimize the amount you could use.
Yeah,
So you should have named it.
Nearly infinite.
So,
Virtual Chicken, would you mind checking
now
your mic? We
things you
can
can
hear
do
your
to
background.
avoid using too much space in your room is not to have too many physical objects.
Ring ring, the city.
You can change your objects from physical to environmental to let gravity take effect, or you can also
I
make
like
physical
gravity.
objects so players can't like teleport off of them and stuff. But the more physical objects you have, even if frozen, are going to take more space than environmental objects.
I like
Also,
gravity.
the more weapons and stuff you pull out of a toolbox, they're going to take up a lot more space in your room also, and you're going to find yourself running out of ink. There's also tricks with chips. You could
Can I have
you
some
can do
of that
most of the chips
quality?
and coding work for your room before you start doing a lot of the modeling. That way, when you hide the chips and you refresh your room, you'll actually find you have more room.
I'm so sorry.
And just a little bit more to add to that, I think Pepto mentioned some really, really nice things that you can do to optimize your ink space, but one other thing that may be worth mentioning is whenever you do design things, it's very, very useful as much as possible to keep things in a single object. So for instance, if you're making a large group that doesn't need to be modularly picked up and moved, you can just make everything in one object if you plan to freeze it, and that can help you maximize your ink apart from just some of the other things that Pepto mentioned. You guys, anybody else on the panel have any other tips for maximizing your ink?
Oh.
Trunks. You have a mic?
Don't use tubes.
You do now.
Exactly. Someone just said it. No ribbons, no tubes. And don't use spheres unless you have to.
Come here, real quick.
Geometry.
Over here.
Hey,
Can you talk
give me just 1 second, Nelly.
I knew it. Hey, how much
All right.
dedicated
Any other
wham-
questions? We do have Mr. Bone right here, front and center.
How much dedicated wham do I need to run a backroom service?
Mr. Bone, I think your mic may be muted. I'm gonna go ahead and check that.
I'm fascinated.
I am fascinated as hell.
Our simulation?
All right.
Can't hear you over him.
No? Okay. We'll go ahead and transition to somebody else. Does anybody else have a question?
I feel like
Let's start. Swift Bear, I think you asked a question.
Yeah,
Let's see,
no,
I'm trying to find somebody new. Has anybody not asked a question yet?
Explanation of how to
Virtual
use
Chicken Hawk? Let's go and get to Virtual Chicken Hawk real quick.
More complicated
Where can I
creation
find the
of the game.
stream?
virtual school. Like,
So the question was, where can you find the stream? We've actually got our streaming partner right here. I'll let Notorious RBG answer this.
it's like I
You
want
know, I'm learning a lot.
HD2.
Like, I'm really trying to really gonna use some of this.
Twitch.tv
Alright.
/SysHD.
Oh yeah. I'm interested in that one.
So there's two ways you can get to it. You can go to twitch.tv/TheNotoriousRBG, or you can go to nrb.gr/Twitch with a capital T.
Oh, okay.
No, it's
Oh, so it's
Just
not on
search for
YouTube.
Rec Room or
Okay.
you search for Notorious RBG. It's through Twitch for the stream.
This is the kind of layout I was going to go for.
All right. Any other
My game
questions?
show, I
Any
get
hands
it
up?
ready.
Oh, we got Harrison's got a question right here. Harrison, what do you have for us?
It's not a question, but it's in addition to what Pepto was saying with modular objects. So we might be getting a select tool soon to make that way more easier.
That's so cool. They're probably gonna get
that's gonna be awesome.
So, if anybody didn't hear, Harrison's thought was, if you check the can recently, you've noticed there's a lot of in-progress items, which are always exciting to know they're kind of coming soon. TM, but the long and short of it is that you'll see that these objects or these new tools be coming for us. So if we have a larger selection tool, that may be also a great time to group objects together and work with some of Pepto's plans for modular movement of groups of objects.
Don't grab that, Royal.
Any other questions?
Oh, sorry. Thought you were grabbing it.
Let's go ahead and go to Swift Bear right here, and we'll get the people meal.
I don't like your
Now, I know I'm asking a lot of questions, but I'm just only asking one per person. What inspired you, Pepto, to build and all that?
Okay, it's a pretty general question. I like expressing my creativity. I'm always looking for different avenues to create stuff, whether it be pen and paper or working on my computer in 3D. And this is actually my first big leap into VR, Rec Room. I mean, my VR came with Skyrim, and that was cool and everything. But then I found this, and yeah, I found out I could create stuff with Rec Room, and my mind was blown. Like, there were so many things that I wanted to see. I wanted to see what they looked like in VR, to scale. So that was kind of my big motivation, like old video games I used to play, I wanted to know what they looked like when they were strapped to my face. And when I see, like, those rooms and stuff that are, like, as tall as I am, or just like the campsite when I did with the Great Outdoors, I kind of wanted to see what a night sky looks like in VR. So it was just kind of my curiosity that led me to build a lot of things that I have in Rec.
Alright.
I have, if you don't mind, I hear a game developing over there. If we could take that game possibly to another room. A little nervous what I heard over here, but yeah, that may be a worthwhile question. Just go ahead and pass around. So I mean, I think you heard from Trunks what he got him going. Meriesa, did you have any information on what brought you into wanting to design things in Rec Room and VR in general?
Yeah, so this was actually the third game that I played when I got my VR headset. And I have the Oculus, so I got to play with a lot of cool games on the VR. But then I actually watched somebody build a 3D object in Rec Room, and they kind of went over the maker pen with me just a little bit. This was super basic at the time, so I was like, I can give it a shot. And I started making smaller objects. And if you ever go into the Meriesa room, I have the old room, so you can see my progress of how I improved with the maker pen. Then I just started building and building and building, and I just wanted to build really cool experiences because I wanted to feel those experiences as well, and I just wanted other people to sense experiences. So yeah, that's how I got into building in Rec Room, I guess. Yeah.
Cool, D. Did you have anything to add? Any of your rationale why?
I mean, somewhat shared it before, but yeah, the main reason that got me started into building custom rooms is that, yeah, I didn't start until the circuits came out, and I just wanted to build some mini games just because, yeah, I'd seen a lot of custom rooms, and there's a whole bunch of really cool art in those rooms, but I mean, I'd go to it and a little bit and then just head back over and play more laser tag. I was a big laser tag fan, so yeah, I just wanted to play some games, so.
I guess my answer to that would be pretty similar too. So things started out with like, if you like, at least for me, the second I jumped into VR was like a completely like life-changing experience, just because it's your first time like seeing things around you that you can make yourself. Like I guess you can always build something with your hands, but this was like I can draw anything. I could be anywhere. And so for me, it was like, what places, kind of similar to what some of the others up here have said, where would I want to be that I couldn't have been before? So do I want to be 2 inches tall, or do I want to be 20 feet tall and like smashing buildings down? Like you can do every bit of that. And then as stuff progresses with development of this game, you get even more and more tools. And so that's why this is an exciting place to be. Also, it's free, so that helps.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Yes.
I see Gator down here.
Yes.
It's a beautiful meal right
after.
Alright, I got a question that might not be completely related to this, because it's not something I can make. It's something I've had an idea since the last time I was in a Q&A and got banned. It's another quest that I've been working on since the Pirate Quest shortly came out. It's actually Greek mythology. Who do I need to talk to about making this a thing?
I've got
all right.
Schematics, I've got outfits, schematics, outfits, weapons, range weapons. It's completely a little bit different than what we see with our quests that we do day to day.
So I think Gator CRX was asking about like other involvement with other creators that like kind of pairing up and I guess you're saying going from an idea, but somebody that you can work with where you have the idea and then it translates into something built, correct?
I got a little bit more than an idea. I got a lot of
like wrapped up time from my free time at work. Free time. Where I've drawn outfits, I've got weapons, I've got maps, enemies, boss, mini boss. Because that's one thing with the new quest, we don't have really a mini boss in it, which is I really like from Crimson Cauldron. We got that little sea creature in the bog, but this one's Greek mythology. Zeus is the boss, and then you have what's the god of water? I've been drinking again.
Poseidon
is the boss. Outfits, you got like the Roman Empire outfits, and then your other ones like togas.
Kratos.
Zeus is the final boss.
So Gator, am I understanding correctly? Is this just like kind of like a quest idea, just kind of like a personal request, like things you'd like to see out there if it ever gets made, or are you saying like you would like to work with somebody to do so?
I'd like to work with somebody to see about making this a thing. I've spent a little bit of time in creating this quest. I'd like to see if maybe it could be a thing.
Well, sure. So I can't speak for everybody up here, but I know I'm seeing up in the audience, and I know that people may possibly watching the stream right now are probably hearing this and wanting to probably partner up. If you guys have anything that you would like to partner up with Gator CRX from some of his ideas and maybe see some things, what's the best way to get to you, Gator? Is it to message you Discord or in-game?
Discord in-game. If you want to give me through an email, it's hhrcar100@gmail.
All right. Well, there you go.
Gator, one thing I want to add, go ahead and build whatever you have, because you never know what type of new tools we'll be getting in the future. So the new tool that you like might just pop up. So even if we don't have it yet, go ahead and build it.
Dog? Hey, Trunks, there's one major flaw in that. I can't have enemies. I've got all kinds of messages and I can't read all these things.
Yeah, I think they're planning on adding them eventually. So I mean,
the big issue with that is it's more on the lines of an actual quest I'd like to see designed and not a custom room, because there's multiple rooms involved, different places, outfits, weapons. Like my main range weapon.
Gator, if you don't mind, would you mind getting with us a little bit after? We only have a few minutes left. I want to make sure that everybody's got a chance to talk real quick.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, beautiful meal.
Okay.
What would this question is for all of you guys? What would you guys like to see in the future? with Rec Room?
For
Like, what
range
different kind of tools would make it
New
easier, or
weapons.
just like
New
something you'd like to
weapons.
see in the future?
Bear.
Well, that's a good question. So the question was, I guess for the panel members, what kind of new things would you like to see in Rec Room as far as creative tools? I guess if you guys don't mind, I'll go ahead and start. I've got a mic in my hand. So the things that I'm a little selfish into, I really want to build an RPG. So the big things I want are like persistence of objects in hands. So for instance, if you anybody that's just joining the room or anybody that's still here, if you wouldn't mind, just giving just a few more minutes of silence.
I just messaged you. You can look at that.
All right.
So I guess so to answer your question, beautiful meal, the things I'm looking for are like RPG related. So I want to be able to track experience through play sessions. So somebody leaves and comes back, that experience is still there and you're able to see it. Other thing I would like to see is a HUD, like so for instance in laser tag you see your current health and things like that. I'd love to be able to build in a custom room where you can see information around you. And I think the last thing I'd like to see is persistence of like weapons in hands after you teleport. Things like that would be pretty exciting for RPGs
I
and
would
the like.
definitely vote that up.
That would be sick.
I don't know.
I wonder. I really would like an RPG in Rec Room.
I'll have to second what Crow said about persistence of
would be pretty
statistics
cool.
across rooms, maybe even tied to a unique player ID. But I would also like to see what we've already seen in development on Canny, which is so they're making motors, which I'm really excited about. I think there's going to be a whole lot of potential and open up a whole lot of different ideas for people who maybe building something like this might be a bit too much for them, but maybe we'll have to see what comes in the future. It should be wonderful. And another thing, I would like to see a color swatch, like expanded color swatch or color wheel or something like that. That'd be really nice.
Oh yeah.
That's about it.
That's so bad.
I have so many ideas for Rec Room. First of all, yeah. I can't even, it's an endless list. I kind of gave it all to the devs, though, at some point. So,
Excuse me,
one of the things I would really like to see, though, is, different textures on the materials that we use in the Maker Pen. And see, if we could actually attach chips to Maker Pen objects. Therefore, we can actually create some type of interaction with Maker Pen objects that's beyond just touching and grabbing and picking up. Maybe it becomes like a boss or something, as he was saying. Or maybe there's a way that we could grab bosses or elements out of the sandbox and we can add them to our games. There should be a way to maybe we recolor furniture, actual furniture, or add physics to our furniture if we make them with the Maker Pen. Also, another thing would be really cool is to make your own clothing. That'd be great too. So
Awesome. Yeah.
that's a very much
do anything?
small amount of stuff.
I gotta say animation. I want to see more and more animation in Rec Room. Skeletal systems, animation loops and stuff like that we can create. I want to explore Rec Room as a storytelling medium and have people live through the stories and see different creatures animated and stuff like that, and just see new worlds come to life through motion and stuff. The stuff that Trunks does so well.
Yep.
One thing that I want to build eventually is a tower defense game, and so in order to do that, I have to be able to make mobs move. So a basic AI to build a mob, and also I'd like to be able to trigger weapons or have particles do damage or something like that in order to make it so that you could build towers that automatically shoot when a mob is nearby, stuff like that.
Well, we have a few more minutes. We'll go ahead and get your questions here in just a second, but let me go ahead and pass the mic over to Cool D, who's got a little short presentation for us.
Okay, I'm just going to go over the super basics of circuits right now. Yeah, circuits can be a little bit intimidating when you're first starting out. One great place to learn what all the chips do is up on that sign up there is a wiki. And on that wiki, it has a description of what every pen does for every chip. I think it's mostly updated with the last update. I have a little example of some basic circuits over here. You can get to the circuits through the Chips tab on your Maker Pen, and you can connect them using the Connect tool from the Maker Pen. Inputs are on the left. You can only have one connection for each input, and then for the output you can have multiple inputs. And Yeah, there's going to be a circuit Q&A room later where you can ask more individual questions. Yeah, I mean, you can ask some here as well. And there's a whole lot of tutorial rooms in Rec Room. I put some of the doors out there, and then there's also quite a bit more. Like in your dorm room, you'll see those and stuff. So, yeah, I can move on to questions.
I'm going to go to mute you guys if you wouldn't mind just kind of keeping it down for a second. If you do have any questions, just raise your hand. We'll get to you. We've got plenty of time to wrap around and get questions, but if you wouldn't mind just staying quiet for just a little bit.
Hey, Cole, do
No,
you want to
everybody
mention
was silenced.
what players might use, like some of what's available to us now, like what type of game modes they might implement, or what they might actually do with like the trigger zones, or
Okay. Well, I mean, the uses for those are endless, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm always amazed by the different type of rooms that people make. Yeah, with the new player stat chip, it makes it
Alright,
really
guys,
easy
I'm gonna end the
to
live stream
set
here.
stats for individual players, and you can switch player teams. So
I
yeah, there's
guess
a lot
Purple
of different games
Notorious
that you can
RPG
use that. Yeah, I know that someone just came out with a automated Mafia
history.
game. So I mean, yeah, people have been trying to build that for a while, but with being able to switch teams and stuff like that, it makes it a whole lot easier. There's the PvP rooms, of course. Use a hit chip. Those are definitely easy to start out. So yeah, yep. That's all I have for that.
Yeah.
This question's for a cool dude. So I've been to a lot of the trip rooms that tell you how to make stuff and the wiki, but I'm more of a hands-on person. Do you think one day when you have time, you can maybe meet up one-on-one and can kind of teach me some stuff? I feel like I learn better that way because I like to fool around the chips, but I keep kind of struggling with it. And the Discord is just, I only have that interaction. Would you be up for that sometime?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, after this is over, I'm planning on heading over to the circuits Q&A, and everyone's welcome to come ask some more individual questions and get some individual help there. Yeah, there's also going to be some other circuit people who will be helping out with that room as well. But yeah, as you said, the circuit Discord is a really great place to ask any specific questions you have. There's a lot of people who know quite a bit about circuits who are really eager and willing to help there, and you can usually get your question answered pretty quickly.
Awkward silence.
We can't hear you.
We didn't hear you.
Yes, I can just, Tyler, do you have a question?
It occurred to me, is there a workaround to the point where you can trade credits or whatever, chips, with those chips, be able to trade player money?
Is there a workaround to that with chips?
Like tokens?
Yeah, trade tokens using chips.
Is there a way to do
Not right now, I don't think so. I mean, you could create like a virtual currency, like gold, or using the stat chip, you could give them a basic stat for a currency, and you'd be able to make it so they can trade that. But I mean, there's nothing to connect to the actual tokens. Yeah, it's within game right now. All right. Yeah, the Royal.
Yeah, I would like to see more space in the sandbox for bigger pets.
Yeah, as I think Trunk said, someone said, is that you can build the circuits first, and then if you turn the circuit visibility off, at least right now, and if you save the room and come back, all that space will be available. But then if you do end up filling up the sandbox, you can only edit circuits, and you can't add any new circuits in.
So I think, is my mic back on? Is it working now?
Yes.
All right, good. So just one thing to say is, like, the circuits can be a little daunting because it's like a completely different kind of stuff. Like, obviously when you use the maker pen and you build objects, you've built things in the past. You can see things, it makes sense. But circuits are kind of a completely different departure from like making things, connecting them, and like understanding how the logic works. So as much as you can, I would recommend very highly working with somebody that's pretty experienced, or finding and going to some of these tutorial rooms, because it's while it is a complicated process, it's so worthwhile to learn when you start making your custom rooms. It can really, really add tremendously to the player experience. We have Juju Plays over here. I haven't seen a question from Juju just yet.
Hello, is this on?
Yep.
Okay. So I've been in a couple of you guys' rooms, and I really liked how you guys made Rec Room a more enjoyable place, and it makes me inspired to make my own room and maybe create stuff with circuits and with Maker Pen. Do you guys think you can maybe help me out and teach me how to do stuff on my own, so maybe I can help out others who want to do it as well?
So I guess the question overall was just, Rec Room's a fun experience. There's a lot of things you can do creatively, but do we have a chance to reach out to other people and help them out on kind of the build process?
Yeah, you can actually, I actually put up a YouTube video on exactly how to use Maker Pen as of right now, and you can check that out, and it actually teaches you how to go through all the different steps and what different things mean and what takes up too much space and what doesn't take up too much space. Another way you can do this is that pretty much anybody here is really willing to help other people. I also have a Discord that actually is dedicated to people who like to help other people, and you can follow that link basically off my YouTube channel, Meriesa. So.
And if you catch any of us, I can't speak for everybody here, but if you ever catch us walking around or shoot us an invite with a message, occasionally I'll have time. Sometimes I'm building things on my own, but I'll occasionally have time to jump in and spend a few minutes to help somebody new learn. So yeah, if you ever have a chance, shoot me a message, and I'll try to be there to help you out. Okay. Anybody else? I've got Modded Dragon. I haven't seen any questions yet.
Are you guys gonna add trading items or not?
Oh, okay, so the question was about trading items. So just to be clear, we are not developers. We're just creators within the game. So we just kind of have we'll make rooms and things, but I'm sure there's developers that hear your questions. Feel free to use the Canny for any questions and suggestions. All good. Any other questions, guys? We got Gator. Has anybody not asked a question just yet?
Moody Mario had a question, it looks like.
Moody Marlowe. Oh, Captain Kick-Ass, do you have a question?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, first I'd like to say thank you guys for doing this. This is actually ended up being a lot better than I thought it would be. This has really actually inspired me to start actually building rooms, you know. But I actually have a question for Trunks.
Yes.
What if they add motors and things within the game? What is your ultimate goal for it? I guess what would you really like to build with something like that?
So Captain Kick-Ass's question for anybody that didn't hear was asking Trunks about physics objects, and if true physics were implemented, what would be your end game? What would be the thing that you want to create the most?
Well, I imagine before we get pathfinding and any type of enemies or mobs or anything like that, the first thing Rec Room has to perfect is animation within custom rooms, whether that be user created or server provided, whatever. But once we have our animation working 100% and in a variety of different ways, I think Against Gravity will most likely use that type of methodology to allow us to bring enemies and other more interesting quest-based elements into our custom rooms. This is speculation.
Well, Trunks, what would you
if you had all Trunks, if you had all the tools in the world, if you had pure physics, what's your end game? What's the thing that you want to build the most with physics right now?
I've been thinking about Valentine's Day a lot. I know it's been a while, but a tunnel of love would be really nice with some doves flying and maybe some fireworks going off in the background, or you know what would be really sweet. What I would really like to see is the illusion that I created in Road Trip was that you were in an RV that was driving around an environment, but in the reality, it's the environment that's moving. But I would like to be able to have our bodies become the child object of a parent chair or something. You set a chair into a moving object and you sat in it, that your butt would become attached to it and you would move with the object. Now again, I don't think AG is going to push for this for the same reason we won't do go-karts, motion sickness and that type of thing. But who knows, if things progress and people show an interest, you never know which way Yeah, what's up, Rube? What you got?
Can I grab a mic for Spider real quick?
Yeah. Are the devs gonna hear all this?
Hear you.
I think there's.
So I think Orwell's question was, are the devs going to hear all this? They have ears everywhere. They hear everything. So I think the answer is a solid maybe. Some would say they may even walk among us. Who knows? Let's get to Moody Marlowe up here. And guys, just to let you guys know, we're kind of in overtime as far as this Q&A goes. So feel free to leave. And just a few notes before I get to Moody Marlowe. There's a few surrounding doors on the edge of this room whenever you guys do get a chance and you want to check these things out. There's tutorials all around for different things. You'll see tutorials for circuit building, for maker pen how-to on how to use the maker pen from a very low level. We also have some different art rooms that you guys can check out. That's going to be really just a conglomeration of all these techniques, circuits, room design, building with the maker pen, and things like that. And then finally, I do want to do a special shout out. This room right here was actually produced from Event Hall, which is a Chase built design. So he allowed us to clone this room and make some alterations to it. So thank you very, very much, Chase, for letting us do that. So I'll go ahead and go over to Moody Marlowe.
Are you really seeing your room?
Alright, this question is for all of you guys. Sadly, Pepto crashed before I got to ask, but I'll ask him later. So out of all the rooms that you've made, is there one particular that you're most happy about or most proud of that you like the most?
I think the question was, what's our favorite rooms, ones that we like the most that we've built? Cool D?
Well, the most recent that I built was with Sword Duck and lots of geckos. Yeah, they're here right now. And yeah, I'm actually pretty proud of the room that we were able to put together. It's a RPG game called Sword Art Online. So yeah, I think that one's pretty sweet. So.
Is it out? Releasing
Not
later
public
tonight?
yet. It will be very, very soon.
Releasing soon to you guys.
Hopefully.
Excited. Meriesa, what was your favorite room that you made?
I would say the Rome Colosseum right now, but I'm building a Bug's Life where you are a bug. And you
that map is gonna be good.
It should be coming out
My
soon.
childhood.
So.
All right. Let's go and get our competition plugs out of the way. Trunks, do you have anything that's like, what was your favorite room that you've made?
Well, I'll partial the road trip just because it inspires people to just kind of hang out and, share some fine memories with each other. Spend some quality time, wipe the sweat off their brow after the many PvP FFA matches they've fought.
Woo, there's a lot of
Their
those.
face in the dirt. And it's their time to relax.
Trunks, is that room public again or no?
It is now public for your enjoyment.
Ooh.
And inspiration.
All right. Hey, Harrison's up here too. Harrison, why don't you chime in? What's your favorite room that you've built?
I'd have to say
Please
Badlands.
don't say Borderlands.
Badlands?
Don't
Okay.
say that. No, what are you doing?
Oh man, scum.
But also
Definitely-
Cliffside.
definitely-
That's my most recent
Harrison,
one.
what are you doing?
Okay. All right. All right.
I just gotta say something real quick.
All right.
So there was
go
a
ahead.
question earlier about, wow, my frame rate is going to hell for this. There was a question earlier about whether the devs are watching, and I just got a notification on Twitch that Trums is in fact watching, so you are all being watched. So yes, they do watch.
All right. So Rec Room.
I gotta go back here
Thanks
because
for
I gotta
being
fix
on
my
stage.
frame rate.
When we get into the go-karts, huh?
All right. Did we cover everybody that asked that? Everybody cover that question? I think so. Okay. Any other questions? Again, we're kind of in overtime right now, so we're gonna run. All right. We got virtual chicken. Is anybody else not asked a question?
No, I haven't, of course. I'm joking.
Gator. Let's see. Is anybody else? Here, let's go ahead and let's run from the right hand side. Is virtual chicken? Go ahead.
YouTube.
Meriesa.
So Meriesa, have your circuit videos come out yet, or is that like to be happening soon?
That's to be happening soon. I only have it on the maker pen right now, but I know that some other people actually have already done some circuit
Ow, my face.
YouTube videos, so you can probably look those up too.
Anybody see any circuit videos that you guys recommend? Yep. Anybody? Okay. So go ahead. Sorry, Cool D. Go ahead.
Duffy, when the circuits first came out, Duffy made I think it was Duffy. One of the devs made a one of the devs made a short video explaining how to use them. And he also has a room where you can do that. I think Jolly Dog also tried making a short tutorial circuit video as well.
And I think so. So videos have their own help, I guess, built in for circuits and things like that. I feel like that's one of the best like hands-on things that you can learn about is really getting into some of those tutorial rooms. There's a few out there. There's Circuit Academy and some others that I've seen. Take a look at those because I feel like those are going to be hands-on. You group with a maker pen, connecting things up, and it really helps you to think about the process. Any other questions? We got Gator over here.
Two things. First thing, circuits. If I have to recommend anybody towards circuits to be Rams play, he's probably going to hate me for this, but he is mad at these fucking circuits. Second thing is, earlier we were talking about currency. I guess the big question is there going to be, I know there's no devs here, but they are listening. Is there going to be where we can buy other currencies with currencies of like, we got tickets, tokens, and gold now. Are we going to be able to spend, like, say, gold for tokens, gold for tickets? It's worth a shot.
But
all right. Oh, sorry. Was there anything else?
Go ahead.
Well, so Gator's question was, like, I guess one thing you wanted to mention was I think Rams plays is helpful with circuits. Definitely noted. Anybody keep eyes out for Rams plays. But I guess the next thing was, have we seen any progress with the ability to transition from one currency to the next? And correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I think there was actually a Q&A question and answer about this. So I think that the official answer was probably at this time no plans to make any changes between the currencies. They're supposed to be like a kind of a unified thing. I think that's what I've heard so far.
Okay.
Welcome back, Pepto, from the dead. Any other questions, guys, before we close things out? Ooh, we got one back here. Let's see who it is. All right, we got Scrolladash.
Hello. I have a question kind of regarding the creator competition. Is there anything leaked for the next creator competition prizes? And if there isn't, do you know when there will be custom skins allowed?
Yeah, so again, I have to mention this. We're not developers, but I guess to give you a little insight, you were asking about the next creators competition after this one, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so the question was, when's the next creators competition? And I think the answer from all of us is we don't really know. we're currently in the middle of one right now, kind of.
Yeah.
So not sure when the next one will be. Not sure about the prizes or anything. Yeah, right. So so we're not really sure.
All right. Thank you.
Final question. Anybody? All right. Well, I think we're going to go and wrap things up here. Thanks everybody up on the panel. Trunks, Meriesa, Pepto, Cool D, Harrison popping in for a second. Appreciate you guys all being here. If you have any other questions after, feel free to come talk to us and join us. And as always, there are some rooms on the outside for you to go ahead and visit. So thanks again for joining us, and maybe you'll see us again up here next time. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
I'll mention one last thing. I'm going to be hanging out here for a couple more minutes if anyone has any questions from the animation room, since it is instanced just for one person to ensure stability. There's a lot of stuff moving around in that room, but if anyone's got any questions, I'll be hanging out here.
All right, thanks everybody.
Yay!
That went pretty well.